Welcome to the show, Pramod sir.
Thank you, Ravi.
So after a very long time, we finally got a chance to talk. Hey? But to the audience, could you please introduce yourself?
You know my name, Pramod Poudel. I'm into the education sector, especially foreign education, affiliation, transnational education is called. So transnational education meaning that we are offering courses from abroad universities, especially from the UK, to Nepali students. At the moment, we are offering undergraduate level courses in computing and ethical hacking.
Okay. So how did you get into your getting in colleges and like become your campus chief at Softwarica?
It's an interesting story, actually. I was in the UK from 2002 till 2009, and then I came back to Nepal and joined a consulting company, a business consulting company. So we consulted several big names in Nepal. I wasn't in the senior position, but I was in a support role. And then my wife, she's an engineer by profession, and she used to teach Cisco qualifications. So while doing that, she met Bigyanji, our chairman, and then she came home one day and suggested me, why don't you, you are educated in the UK, he's doing UK education thing in Nepal, so why don't you go and talk to him? So I thought I was kind of bored in that current position. So I went, spoke to him, and he immediately said, let's do it together. And that's how we started. And back then, Softwarica had around 50 students, 50. And we were offering NCC diploma level qualifications, level 4 and level 5. And then I immediately saw the opportunity to scale up and, work with UK universities and UK awarding bodies, which our chairman readily agreed upon. And that's how we started.
Okay. So how many students are enrolled in Softwarica?
At the moment, our peak was 1,200 students, but now I think close to 1,000. Okay. Now, if you talk about now, it might go up and down 10-20%.
So every year, how many graduates actually get into?
At the moment, close to 200, around 200. But then this year, it's going to be 300 plus.
Okay. So, how is the entire education system in terms of IT in context of Nepal? There are multiple universities offering multiple degrees, what is I'm not sure, if you have the exact number on, how many graduates are there across Nepal from IT background itself. But, just wanted to understand, what is on that from your perspective?
Well, we do not have an exact data of how many graduates we produce in terms of technology, especially information technology. My guess would be around 6,000 to 7,000. That would be an approximate. It could be way higher, it could be way lower, but my guess it would be around 6,000 to 7,000 graduates. And among them, the foreign TNE graduates, transnational education graduates, would be around 1,000, close to 1,000 to 1,500 every year. And among them, about 80% do not stay in this country. And the remaining 10%, 5%, they try out their own things. 5%, they are simply there to get a degree. And the remaining 10% is absorbed by the local market like yourself, including others like OTVT, Dearwalk, and so on and so forth. So that's the situation of IT graduates at the moment in Nepal. But having said that, the moment, even those 10% who actually stay back in Nepal, once they get a little bit more experience, again, out of 10%, around 7-8% leave the country, which I think you probably know through your own company experience. So that's the situation in Nepal. And bigger names, I'm in touch with bigger names who are actually investing in technology now. For example, Upaya Services. They have been funded by a Dolma Impact Fund. And then there are others too. They are finding it really hard to find the required manpower, especially in technology. And mind you that they are ready to pay any amount. If they could find somebody who actually, meet the requirement. So that is the situation right now.
So why do you think like people leave Nepal, like they grow up here and then they just end up going abroad country? Some people redo their bachelor, some people redo their master just for the sake of going abroad. So like why do you feel like that, like you being someone who has lived abroad and coming back to Nepal?
See, there are a lot of arguments on this line. Mine is a little different. There are arguments like, Nepal has, a lot of problems, the electricity problem, road problems, this and that problems. But my take is a little different. The reason most young people go abroad is for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't about money. It isn't about anything else at all. Because these young people, they do not experience the kind of freedom they want to have in this country, right? And that's the core reason. I mean, there might be other reasons too, but that is the core reason why people leave, and especially for girls. There is more freedom abroad. And for boys, they want to prove something. I don't know what they want to prove, but they want to prove something that, that person is the man, right? So they want to explore the world, they want to kind of meet people, they want to be free.
Mm-hmm.
But then the irony is they will not be that much free, even less than in Nepal. That is the reality, right? So that's a situation of freedom. I mean, that's my core thing. Freedom is the core reason why people leave Nepal, especially young people.
So why did you mention it's, even though they seek freedom abroad, but they don't get that in terms of that? I know that there is a sad reality behind that, and just wanted to understand from your perspective.
Look, the reality abroad is we all know it through social media these days, but back in my days, people did not know, right? Yeah. So it was, let me take you back to year 2000, where the internet was a scarce thing. There was internet, but it was really, really scarce, and it was really, really expensive. Social media did not exist then. Even if it did, it was in a very minuscule level, and people did not know, right? But now, social medias are there. People can see everyday lives and all that. Even though these young people portray of having a fantastic life abroad through social media, people still know, because every household in the urban place, someone is there, someone is abroad, someone is in the US, Australia, Europe, wherever you want, right? So they obviously tell their families of the reality and the whole situation. So you are stuck with a job, right? It could be a cleaning job, or it could be a desk job, or it could be an IT job. It doesn't matter, but you are kind of stuck to it. And the reality is, you get weekends off if you're lucky, Saturdays and Sundays. If you're really lucky, you are doing desk job and all that. But the moment Saturday is over and Sunday comes, you are worried about your Monday work.
Yeah.
Your Sunday will not be your Sunday. Your Sunday you'll just be thinking what you are going to do on Monday, the kind of assignments that you have, the kind of all those pressures that you will have to face on Monday. So you will get more stuck. That's the irony I was talking about. You will get more stuck. And if you do a 9-to-5 job, you have to commute. You cannot live in the city center because it's very, very expensive. You will commute for more than an hour every day, up and down, 2-3 hours gone. So the rest of the 5 days you actually live for work.
Mm-hmm.
You will not have time to do anything else apart from eating and sleeping. And the only 2 days that I mentioned, Saturdays and Sundays, if you are lucky. Sundays isn't so Sunday at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the only day you will have Saturday or Friday evening, where you actually, if you drink, you simply go down to a pub and, drink your worries away.
Yeah. Okay. So but currently there's big situation, like not like big situation, but like there is bigger opportunity. Like even if you want to get a degree, like let's forget about why people go to abroad, and like probably simply let's say they go abroad to have a better education, or like maybe have a better degree or whatever it is. But we have a provision right now that either you can enroll to a university that is run by a local college but affiliated to another universities like Softwarica and other Islington and other colleges too, or maybe you can simply apply for distance learning, right? I'm not sure how it was before COVID, but I actually applied for the University of London. I got accepted to that for distance learning, but I didn't join there. But currently there are colleges offering distance learning, and where you can get actual education of the foreign degrees and like foreign education system, staying in Nepal or wherever in the world. Like how has it been like adopted in last few years, and like what is the difference between joining actually in a distance learning or maybe joining a local college and then like getting affiliated to a foreign university?
See, of the case of University of London, I think you and I had a conversation on that, and I hope I helped you on that as well. Gave you few information on it. The problem in Nepal is that if you do a distance education, then it will not be recognized by Tribhuvan University. So young people would run into the risk of not getting your degree recognized in Nepal. Maybe the private sector will not care so much, but if you go to the government sector, you will not get a job, even though you are qualified, and even if you can pass Lok Seva and all that. So you run into that risk. And I don't know how many people would like to take on that risk. And the funny thing is that even, let's say you did your undergraduate from University of London, distance mode, and then you wanted to, let's say, do masters in the US or in the UK, anywhere else in the world, then you'll not get NOC, no objection letter, from the Ministry of Education. Why? Because you've studied distance learning.
Okay.
So you'll run into a big problem. Okay. So that's the situation with distance learning. I'm gonna tell my viewers too that that's what's happening now. So it's up to you whether you wanna do the distance learning. So that might change in the future. I don't know, but in the foreseeable future, I don't think it's gonna change. Right. That's the situation right now. The TNE centers, for example, Softwarica, Islington, British College, ISMT, many more. So if you study in these institutions, obviously, it will be recognized. But then I'm not kind of saying that one is better than the other. It's exactly the same. It depends on the person, how you learn, right? I'm not really into the piece of paper. I'm into the skills and the experience and whatever that comes along with the whole experience of actually getting a degree. So that's the situation. So it doesn't matter. I mean, to answer your question directly, it all depends on the person. But I'm just elaborating the consequences of doing the distance learning or the regular one.
But I think there is another problem that's more of a personal problem that you can face on distance learning, that there is no classmates that you can hang out with. There is no force of completing an assignment. Like you tend up procrastinating a lot and then like end up not submitting the stuff in deadline. And you can even go and talk to a teacher and just ask for like, please grant me a extension or something like that. That's one thing that probably it's gonna be faced in the distance learning, but probably not on a local college where you can just go to a class and study.
Well, I generally get into heated arguments both nationally and internationally relating to distance education. People may not agree with me. You may not agree with me that too. But the whole rationale of going to college is not just to get a degree. The whole rationale of going to college is to build a network, to make friends. These friends might become people that might become very important to you in the future, right? And for the whole experience of socializing, right? And developing leadership skills, because you'll get into all those sort of clubs and you might lead some IT club, sports club, you might lead a sports team and all that. So it's a holistic thing. Right? It's not people understand it, you go to a college, you get the education, you get the piece of paper, degree, and then you go find a job. But then when you go find a job, right, for example, you are an employer now. You used to be a student, but now you are an employer. So what kind of skills and characteristics and attitude do you look for in your employee? So all these things those students learn in college. So now you compare that to somebody who's done distance education without all those interactions and all that. So that way, I'm presuming that the person is not doing anything else, just sitting at home and doing distance learning. But if that person is already working, already have a big community and all that, my point is invalid, right?
Yeah.
But then if he's not or she's not doing that, then largely that person will not be able to compete with someone who's actually gone to the college and had the holistic experience.
So probably then there is a difference between why someone should choose a distance learning. Let's forget about the issues with the Ministry of Education and like the equivalency that you don't get from the TU, but like distance learning probably is for someone who is actually doing already like doing a job, or maybe already has a skill but just want to get a piece of validation from a university saying that, hey, I have done a class, or maybe I have completed a course. But whereas if you probably going to a college and then like studying there day by day is for someone who could be probably new to the industry, wants to learn, like to work with teachers, colleagues, classmates and everyone, so that they can get the holistic experience and build their hard skills as well as soft skills in the process.
Yeah, I mean, and also, it all depends on the person as well. How motivated are you to do your assignments without having been told to do so, right? Having a lecturer or a supervisor with sword on your head, do the assignments by this deadline. So how motivated are you? So it all depends on. So that's why I'm saying it depends on the person, right? And some people, they have won the genetic lottery. I'm trying to connect that that person is already motivated, already a little bit more kind of inclined to technology. That kind of person, distance learning might be suitable. But somebody who has no idea, how, not got into technology early on, for those people, distance learning and doing it by themselves, it's going to be a big challenge. I will not say it's not impossible. I mean, it is possible. Nothing is impossible. But then it's going to be a big challenge.
Okay. So now talking about distance learning, during the phase of COVID, all the colleges shifted to virtual classes because it was impossible to run from college. Like, what was the challenges that were faced by colleges in terms of running a virtual class, and like, was it even effective? And like, does it make sense to start doing virtual classes instead of doing physical classes at the colleges? Like, what do you think on that?
Well, first of all, we were not prepared. At least Nepal was not prepared. I'm not sure about other European countries or the US. They were already practicing, a couple of days online and a couple of days offline. But then we were not prepared at all. Even the college like ourselves, who are into technology, we were not prepared either. So we tried various platforms, free platforms available, like Zoom and Teams and Google Meet and all that, but it did not work. I mean, it worked, but then just to show that we've actually conducted classes, it didn't work that much. So that's the reason we developed our own platform, which initially it was called Campus 4.0. And then now it's called schoolworkspro.com. So we actually built that for our own use. And later on we realized that this product could have a market. So that's why we registered our own company called Digi Technology. And now schoolworkspro.com is a product that we are installing in various education institutions, that they are doing really great. So maybe now we are a little bit prepared, but still we are not fully prepared because of the infrastructure problem. Let me tell you the problems. We had a lot of students from outside Valley, probably around 30, 35, even 40%. And these students were from Bazura, somewhere from, I don't know, Jumla, somewhere from, a lot of remote districts. So they did not have access to internet at all.
Okay.
Right? So no matter how many, whatever we did, they could not get the access. And you and I both know that everything was completely stopped, right? So they could not travel. Even their phone, even NTC did not work. Ancel sometimes worked, sometimes it didn't. So we ran into a huge, massive problem, right? But then somehow, we managed it. And then, once it opened in the middle for a couple of months, then we, sort of called them to our institution and did as we could. But it didn't work. So I don't think if it's going to happen in the next, I don't know, years or so, we are still not prepared. The whole country is not prepared.
So probably it's not something that can be solvable for some people, cannot be solvable from college side or maybe from personal side. But it's
college is an institution, it's a community, right?
Sure.
People from different backgrounds and different places gather together to gain knowledge. But then once these people go back to the original places, we will face a very difficult time to cater all these people from different places because of the lack of infrastructure. And if they are all based in Kathmandu, no problem.
Okay.
Or even in Pokhara,
or major cities.
All major cities. Yeah. Even though, even in the major cities we have problems, right? But then not as much as in Jumla.
Yeah.
So we are not, as a country, we are not prepared. But if you only talk about Kathmandu, Pokhara, Biratnagar, Birganj, it's not much of a problem. But that's not what we are about. We are about the whole country. We gather people from the whole country.
So talking about virtual classes, there is a different crowd that actually I mentioned about is they are working professionals. For the very first thing is what I like seeing is the mindset has not changed yet, saying that if you're a student you cannot work. We are always supposed to study only and then go to work, but right now being in IT especially, if you're a doctor probably you cannot work while studying, but in medical field, but in IT you can have a job as a software engineer, you can have a job as QA, and you still study, but it seems like there's still no adoption of that mindset in terms of institutes where it's really easy for them to just come up and study as well as work. What do you think on that?
Well, the situation is changing gradually. If you talk about a decade back, it was unthinkable that somebody would actually work
and study.
But now the situation has gradually changed. It's not there yet, but then it's changing. And we have now different portals, technology have developed that, even though you're not in a classroom, physical classroom, you can still access the materials. But then again, as I mentioned before, so what kind of person you are, if you're already into a community, if you're already into a business, if you're running your own thing, you have groups of people, communities and everything, it's okay. But then if you're a single person, you're not doing anything else, why go virtual? There's no point. And the cost is not less.
Yeah,
right.
It's the same.
In most cases, it's more.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to find out that if you go to Future Learn, the virtual degrees are even more expensive than the university ones. Not all of them, some of them, right? And I mentioned that to my university as well. So why are you guys expensive? They had few courses which was actually more expensive than the physical one. And I asked them, and they said, we spend more working hours preparing those materials, preparing those assessments, and doing all the quality checks. That's why it's more expensive. So it's not less expensive. And in Nepal, we should understand that doing a virtual education will not be so cheap. It will be expensive. And the general concept is that, since we are doing it virtually, it has to cost less. And that was the argument of our students too. You taught us virtually, that's why we will pay half of the fees. That's, our costs are the same. Nothing has changed. In fact, we were spending more time on building all those platforms and generating all those assessments. The assessments would be different if you are doing virtual rather than in the classroom, right? So it would be a little different. So we have to recreate all that, recreate the whole system, and which costs money, right? So yeah.
But there is also a fact that you have already invested a lot in the infrastructure of building a physical infrastructure. Could be building, could be parking, could be anything, right? That will still exist and it will still cost you money even if you run the virtual classes. And like you can just simply say, ignore all of those costs and then like just reduce the price of virtual classes. But that was a little bit misconception that happened during COVID. Like everyone was like,
those are the fixed costs, Ravi. Yeah. I mean, you still have to pay rent, you still have to pay your staffs, you still have to, all those things. The only thing you save are the water bill, electricity, a little bit electricity bill, which is like, peanuts, minuscule.
Yeah.
Right? So everything else is the same. And then in order to coordinate the whole thing, you are paying even more money with all those online platforms, internet, and all those things, so it's even more expensive.
Yeah, that was a little bit misconception that happened during COVID, where students were like complaining a lot about colleges, but understand their point. But but there is another fact.
See,
that
if I was a student, I would have done the same.
Yes.
The student mentality is that if you could get a couple of thousands off your fee, that's great. I mean, you have more pocket money. I mean, people will be inclined, and even if they understand, they don't want to understand.
True.
Right.
So probably moving forward, even if virtual classes, like pure virtual classes come, like there might be, it might still cost the same, as well as, but at the end there might still be needed, like few need of going to college and like talking with your professor or maybe your classmates, and so that you can get to know each other and the course a little bit better, right? So what happens after like graduating from the college itself? Because currently there is all the companies that I talk to, they mention about there is a very big gap between the education that the student gets and then like the industry, what industry needs. But I'm just sharing my perspective because I've looked into Coventry University's course, TU course, and the other university courses as well that is being taught in Nepal. I think like it's a very good course. Like if you really study well, like you can be a very good engineer. Even like TU, like if you go into computer science or BSc CSIT, because I dropped out from BSc CSIT and joined Coventry Universities, but even the CSIT course is very good. Like there is data science, there is very basic course of like very basics of computer science and everything, and also that goes same with the London Metropolitan University that is being taught, and also with the Coventry Universities. But there's still a very big message that comes around, like students are not good enough because education is not being taught. So like what do you feel on that?
Well, it isn't about the course syllabus per se, because those syllabus have been designed by experts, even BSc CSIT. Yeah. They consulted a lot of foreign institutions, people, and their own local experts, and they came up with that course. The course itself is fantastic, and when it came out, I had a look on the course, and it had physics, and it had chemistry, it had even biology. And then a lot of students were complaining that, why physics is there. I found it really, really difficult in my 10+2. Now again, I have to study at the bachelor's level. What's the point, right? And why mathematics? So the problem is that, computer science is sometimes called computing.
Yeah.
Why is it called computing as an expert? I want to ask you this question. Because it involves mathematics.
Yes.
Right? If you are not good in maths, you cannot be a fantastic programmer, because it's all about logic, and logic is maths, right? So that's the reason mathematics is there. Physics again, right? A lot of physical laws applies in computing as well, right? Especially if you go into the chip level, right? So these courses are there for the reason. Now the problem is in delivery.
Yeah.
Right, so course itself is, if I look at the 4-year BSc, it's absolutely fantastic course. I mean, it is comparable to any courses in the world.
True.
It might even be better, I don't know, but it's not, comparatively, it's okay. We don't really have to say that this is bad. This is good. This is fantastic course. But the problem is in delivery.
Yeah.
So how you're going to connect physics with computing? For example, you hire a physics teacher, then he goes away with all those
Physics
mechanics and physics stuffs and laws of motions and blah 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 and all that. And then if that person is not able to connect that with computing, what's the point? Right? So in delivery, even if you're doing biology, cells, it's all about the chemical reactions and all that. It somehow connects, right? So if you could not find people who could actually connect all these subjects to the core thing that you are studying, there's no point, right? So the problem is in integration. It's not on the individual. Fantastic course, it's very good course. I've gone through it myself, right? So the reason most students are attracted to TNE institutions is that these courses connects. Every module connects with the other. That's how the course is designed, and that's how we are told to deliver.
Yeah.
And we are monitored constantly whether we are doing it right, connecting all those things. And when you connect all those modules together in the year 1, year 2, year 3, whatever, and on the 4th or 3rd year, final year, whatever, depending upon either 3 or 4 course, then it should all come in your final year project.
Yeah.
So all those dots, right, will get connected in your final year project, and it will be reflected on your achievement. And when you go to the employer, you show that this is the project I've done, and these are the concepts I've used that I've learned over the years, year 1, year 2, year 3. And that's how you impress the employer. Yeah.
So that's a really good point, because whenever I see someone applying to our company, whether if they're fresh graduates, the first thing that I see there is what are the projects that they did, and what are the things that they implemented on their projects. So there's a misconception saying that if I'm a fresh graduate, it's very hard to get a job. But if you have a very good portfolio and what you have learned and you can showcase that, I don't think any company will hesitate hiring you based on that. But you can just simply go with the same blank CV.
See, as an employer, if a fresher comes to you and tells you that, showing his or her project, that this is the project I've done. I've used all these concepts from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and I came up with this. Wouldn't you hire that person?
I would definitely hire that.
Right? So that's the secret. I mean, it's an open secret. I mean, if you are a fresher, simply go to the employers, just show them that this is how you did the project. These are the concepts that you used and did the project successfully. You'll get hired.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people could do that, and not a lot of people know how to do it. And by seeing at the project that they've done, you as an employer could tell whether that project has been undertaken seriously or not.
Yeah.
You ask a couple of questions, you will know already that whether this guy was actually involved in the project, or in what depth that person has gone in order to prepare that project. So based upon that, you can make your decision. True.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the gap between industry and the education. What I understand the point being delivery issues. I will talk about the solutions related to that, possible solutions related to that. But what is the still the reason behind the gap between the industry?
Well, I've been asked this question so many times on every forums, and my answer has been the same. As a college or university or an education institution, we do not prepare students to take up job directly. And this is a bitter truth, right? We prepare students to learn, right? To adapt, to become agile, right? To be able to face the situation and act accordingly. We do not prepare students to work for your company. It's like, we lay the foundation such that the student can adjust in any kind of technical situation in the future. So it is down to that particular company that hires that graduate or student, how to mold him, how to take him wherever your company wants. So we cannot prepare students, go directly to, your company and, code away, right? It's not going to happen, no matter how many times you or other companies try. Yeah. And go to different forums and different, So, but then, our responsibility, our core responsibility is to initiate critical thinking, reading, writing, and speaking. Although this sounds very simple, right? Everybody can read, write, and speak and all that. But as an employer, how many graduates do you actually meet who can actually read, who can actually write, and who can actually speak? Very few. Very few. Yeah. Right? So we strive to prepare students on those front. Obviously, that's a general sense, right? But then we obviously prepare them technically as well. But every university, every education institution should strive to achieve that. And once you do, that person is formidable. That person is deadly. You could mold that person, any way you want, right? You can hire that person into management trainee. That person could take up any position in the next few years if that person could do these three things. As Dr. Jordan Peterson says, that these reading, writing, and speaking, if you could do it well, you are absolutely deadly.
True. So, we understand that point in last couple of years, and that's why the reason behind we actually, if we are taking a fresh graduate, we always do a 3 months training bootcamp. First, they need to be good at their foundations that they actually learn from the college and universities, and then they need to show a little bit of technical skills and portfolio. If you have both, we'll just keep you on 3 months of training. You need to be adapted, you need to have that attitude to adapt that, and then you can take a full-time job. So that's the model that we have implemented right now, and many other companies are doing. So probably I think that's the best answer to that, because every time I talk to other companies, every time they say student graduates, we know they are not good enough for our company. But every company has a different requirement, every company has a different way of working, and then it's their responsibility to adapt, I think. And I agree on that. But because I see that happening in the foreign countries, where if you go to a very big employer, they actually put you on training for few
and also there's a difference in our culture and foreign, especially European American culture, that most of our students, they come to our institutions like ours, whether they like it or not. It's a kind of compulsory thing. Right? So university education in most of the advanced economies is not compulsory, right? If they really want to do it, then they can do it, but there is no compulsion, right? And government supports them for the people who are really, really interested and no money. They give loans and all that, but here our parents fund it. And it's the parents' desire for their kids to complete undergraduate, postgraduate. So somebody who completes undergraduate, that student, he or she is already on the pressure
to
complete their masters without actually going to the work environment, right? So you get all this, if somebody does bachelor's and works for several years, you're already into this tremendous pressure from family. Hey, your friends have done masters, your friends have done PhD, you're still working away. What are you doing? And we need to get you married, so at least you need to finish your masters. Otherwise, the girl I'm looking for, she's already completed a master's degree. So so you need to finish your master's degree, and we don't even consider that in order to go for the higher advanced degree after undergraduate, you need at least some experience.
True.
In order to sort of understand the theories, in order to understand the whole dynamics of the working companies, right? So you need that experience. Otherwise, there's not much difference between bachelor's and master's in terms of theories. You might go into a little bit more depth in the master's level. but then the concepts are the same. And the only difference is that once you've completed your bachelor's and then you have some years of experience, then now at the master's level you begin to understand, oh, these theories is that because I've actually faced this in my workplace. So that's how it is done. If you've not worked, if you do not have experience, you'll be unknown. You'll simply mug it up and I don't know, rote learning, and then you appear for the examination and pass it, and it's no point.
So it's probably starting from like why people join degree, like especially IT, like it's a very booming industry right now, and then like everyone's family is like, this guy did this. Being in IT, you also study IT, and like even they are forced to study IT, even if they have a interest in that or not, and then like end up just passing it out, and then like end up going there. That's another reality that's going on right now, right?
Yeah, a lot of parents are under pressure to kind of make their children look good, whether they are good or not. That's a whole different situation. They want their children to be up to the certain level, and parents are not concerned about whether that their children have developed the right attitude, the whole learning experience, the conversational experience, relationship building experience. They are not really into that. They are only into whether my son or daughter have cleared or passed or bachelor's or master's and so on and so on. And they're not so worried about even after the job. Right? And a lot of MBA graduates in Nepal, I interview them most of the time, and they probably spent around 10 to 15 lakhs just doing their masters, and then they come to a company like, let's say, Softwarica. I'm not going to offer them more than 20,000, right? And they wonder, I've spent 15 lakhs there, and probably they spent another 20 lakhs in the undergraduate. They've already spent 35, and if you add inflation and all that, right, and compound interest and all that, it's close to 50 lakhs. And now the student is wondering, I've spent 50 lakhs to get 20,000 rupees, right? So the point I'm trying to say is that, just because you've completed blah, blah, blah degree, I'm not going to hire you. The only reason I'm going to hire you is whether I'll assess whether you can actually create value to my organization, right? What kind of value you're going to create, or you have the potential, at least the potential to create in my organization. That's the only reason, right? So and students need to understand this. Graduates need to understand that you need to add value to the organization that you are working, and the more the more valuable that value is, the more you get paid. Right? So I'll give you an example. A graduate came to me one day and he said, "Sir, you referred to a company. That company only pays 25,000 rupees per month. I've spent so much, in Softwarica. In my +2, I did A levels and spent a lot of money there. And then this company doesn't pay much. I'm not going to work in this company." So I said, "Does the company pay the same amount to senior people?" I said, "No." "How much are they paying?" "I don't know exactly, but then they're paying, several 6-figure salary to some people, and some people even 7-figure salary." And I told him, why did they get that kind of salary? And he said, "I don't know." And I told him the same. See, these people have created such value in that particular organization that they deserve that amount. You are not there yet. So once you enter, you see how you can create value to that organization. Then only just show them, or at least show the potential. Then only you can gradually step up and achieve that level. So it's not that the company doesn't pay. Company pays, but company only pays to those people who really create value, not somebody who are just in a support role. So you are in a support role. I mean, maybe you're looking after, I don't know, HR, I don't know, administration, or a little bit of coding, I don't know, a little bit of QA. So your job, anybody could do your job, but then your boss, nobody, very few people could actually do the job that your boss is doing right now. That's why he's getting paid so much. And also, the payment isn't just for the work. The payment is for the responsibility.
Yeah.
I give them the example that bank CEOs, in Nepal, generally when we talk about high salary, we think about bank CEOs, right? So we all know their salaries because it's all public. And then I give them the example: why do bank CEOs get paid so much in crores, right? When they don't seem to be actually working. You see them cutting ribbons. Right, you see them in various seminars, advertisements, and giving all those speeches and all that. And for that, they are getting paid crores and crores. How come? And I tell them, see, they get paid because of the responsibility. If something goes wrong in their bank, it's their ass, right? So they are the first in line to get fired, and it's their responsibility for the profitability, for the sustainability, for the staff welfare, everything else. That is the key person for the overall thing. Of course, he or she does not do the work by himself or herself. He delegates all that to the junior staffs. But then the ultimate responsibility lies in the CEO, and that is the reason that person gets paid so much. So people need to understand this.
Yeah. So never compare your position with someone who is getting a lot paid, because the responsibility, the experience that they come with, and the fire that they need to put off every day is in a very different level than what you're doing right
and
now.
Also, I just need to add something. And also, you need to think about whether that person, that person is 24/7. By the way, you are not 24/7. You might work 9 to 3, 4, 5, I don't know, and get Saturdays and Sundays. That person is 24/7. He has to be available for the company 24/7. And even in that person's sleep, he has to think about the company. That's why that person gets paid a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's all about sacrifice. You are not sacrificing that, are you? No, you're not. I mean, you Friday night you go to a pub and drink, till you collapse, right? Our CEO can't do that. He might, but then when he's on a long holiday, not on a regular week, he can't do that, or she can't do that.
Sure. So in the same case, let's talk about the graduates from Softwarica or any other colleges that you have met before, who are doing very good at their particular jobs and their career. Do you have some references of the company? I'm not gonna ask you to mention the person itself, but references of company that they have walked into, starting from Nepal and then built up their career till there.
Well, there are a few examples. There are a few people in Instagram now, Softwarica Graduates. There's one I know in Motorola, and some are in Verizon. I'm talking about all the US companies because they pay a lot of money. So, and the one student, last year he came and he was talking to me, and he said he's about to buy a car worth 365 grand US dollars. And I was pleasantly surprised. He's only 27, 28 years old, right? So those are the examples. But then I'm not saying that people in Nepal are doing less. And obviously, if you go to the US, it's a big country, big money and big companies and all that, and obviously you get paid a lot more. But then there are examples in Nepal too where people are making not a lot of money, but enough money for them to be able to live a very, very comfortable life.
Yeah.
Like yourself.
Thank you.
Because a lot of your friends are in the US, and a lot of friends are in Australia maybe, and they are also doing good. But then you are not doing bad either.
Yeah, true.
You are doing good too. But then you can't compare everything, right? The comparison has a different limits.
True. So that I think clearly pictures that even if you study from Nepal, it really doesn't matter. If you are very good enough, you will end up getting good career. It's not that when you have a foreign degree, or maybe if you have a Nepali degree, it really doesn't matter. It really depends upon you.
This is so true, especially in technology.
Yeah.
Technology is the same language everywhere you go, right? It's not different in the US. 0 and 1 is still the same in the US and in Nepal, right? That's machine level language is same everywhere. I mean, there might be a little differences, in terms of, the infrastructure, the way of working, creativity and all that. But the language is the same. Somebody asked me in one of the seminar in the UK back in the days. So somebody asked me the question, and there was a prize on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, what language is spoken or understood all over the world? And somebody said Chinese, somebody said English, somebody said Spanish. And the answer was the computer language, right?
Mm-hmm.
The coding language that is widely understood. Not in terms of like you and me talking, but then it is the same wherever you go.
It's a global.
It's global.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter where you study, but the only thing matters, again, I said it depends on the delivery, it depends on the kind of person you are, the kind of students, how motivated you are, whether you have a computer background before, whether you are curious enough,
Mm-hmm.
whether you opened a few electronic devices or not when you're in your teens, just trying to see what's inside, So if you have that, you are formidable. You can compete anywhere in the world. You can compete anywhere you are competing anywhere in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've been to different places, different countries,
Yeah.
right? And you worked as a group with international people,
Mm-hmm.
with so-called Ivy League graduates and all that.
Yeah.
You've done it yourself.
That is true, because it really doesn't matter where you study. Like at the end, it's the same thing if you are good enough, right? On the same thing, like is it enough to have a educational degree, like just go to college for 3 or 4 years and then like just pass the degree, or maybe it's also a very good opportunity to explore like certain courses or maybe additional trainings that could lead you to become a better in your career? Like, what do you see any importance on that additional trainings that students might get?
Of course, see, as an educator myself, the university has this system of structured course, right? So if you are a student, let's say for example, if anybody is a student, we deliver that structured course in a structured format, right? Because we have to meet the university regulations. We have to meet all those learning outcomes and all those things. So in that sense, a particular student would not have a lot of room to explore within the course itself. So if you are interested in something else, of course, you need to come out of that structure and do it. Nobody tells you to do it, but then you have to do it if you want to beat the competition later on. If you want to move up the ladder very, very quickly, right? So for example, we offer ethical hacking, CEH, EC Council CEH, right? Or Cisco maybe, for our ethical hacking graduates. That's not compulsory, but we encourage them to take up that as well, right? So that's just an example. I mean, if you are into programming, you can do something else as well. If Java is not there, you can do Java. I don't know, if Python is not there, you can do Python or something, right? So if C++ is not there, I don't know. So I'm not a technical person, I used to be, but I'm not anymore. So I don't know the thing very much. But then the whole gist is that you need to find something that interests you outside the structure and then pursue it, right? So that you can build a career out of it when you graduate. And a lot of there's been in the media everywhere that there is a trend, you need to drop out and start a company, you want to become a Mark Zuckerberg, those sort of things, Bill Gates and those sort of things. Again, I said, these guys, they have won the genetic lottery. They are already talented. They have already explored whatever is there in the university. Right? Steve Jobs, I read his book, and he did not kind of have much interest in university because he knew already.
Yeah.
Right? That's the reason he did not go. Not just because he simply wanted to drop it. Same with Zuckerberg. Same with Bill Gates. Right? They already explored the whole content, and they saw no point in repeating it.
Mhm.
They are never against university education if you read their book.
Yeah.
If they read their podcast, they never tell you drop whatever you're doing and start a company. They don't tell you that, right? So if you are already in that particular group, particular class, I don't know, if you are already talented, right, then you might have a chance dropping out and do it. But in our culture, you'll be ruined.
Sure.
Right? I don't want to use the word, but you'll be ruined. Okay, so it's absolutely necessary, essential in our culture. I mean, it may not be essential in the US or in Australia, but here it is essential.
Yeah, I'm a prime example of that. I dropped out 4 times, still ended up doing it. The reason behind me going back to study again and then completing my degree was, so the first thing that I faced issues was being from a third world country. I could not validate my skills because I did not have my bachelor's degree, and in certain cases they did not count my experience as an experience because I didn't have an education background. First thing was that. Second thing, I was planning to move to another country, Singapore, and then they applied for my visa. First thing that they came back with me is, you did not get your visa because you don't have a degree. Then I again got a job offer from Germany, same issue. I tried of thinking going to Japan, but same issues. I tried to think about Thailand,
Ravi,
same issues.
The benchmark that these countries, the Western economy or advanced economy, put to our country, like third world country like Nepal, is whether you've completed a certain level of education
or not. Yeah.
Right, that is the benchmark. Because I don't blame them, because there's nothing else to kind of judge your skills. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could produce all those sort of experiences from scratch.
True.
Right, if you have a few connections to different organizations, you could actually produce 10 years of experience, and these people know it. Right, even in your case that might be genuine.
Yeah.
Right, but then how do these people know that you are genuine? You are a Nepali from a third world country. How do they believe it? Obviously you must have applied in a senior level position. So for a senior level position, they don't want to take the risk.
Sure.
And that is the reason. So education is the benchmark for a third world country like Nepal. If you were born in the US or Australia, the situation would have been different. You would not be in this situation. Yeah. And I told you time and again that, see, when you dropped out, I advised you personally that, whatever else you do, you complete this.
Yeah.
Right? So because you will be judged on this. Maybe after you cross that hurdle, then it won't be an issue anymore. Nobody talks about you whether you have a master's degree or not.
No.
Right? But then before you do it, this is something that has to be done. There's no significance to it. There's no importance to it. But then it's a hurdle that a third world country citizen has to overcome.
Yeah, true. After I got rejected from so many countries, companies, because of I was not qualified for a visa itself. I was qualified for the job, but not for the visa. So I closed all of those chapters and then just started continuing my degree.
I'll give you, sorry to interrupt, I'll give you an
worries.
example. In the UK, even back in the days and even now, they bring nurses from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? From Europe, there is no English requirement. If you are a European, but I'm not sure if they change it now, but even a few years back, if you are a European, you don't need IELTS or whatever, blah blah blah, But if you are a Nepali, you need 7.0 each band. Why? Because you are a Nepali, or you are an Indian, or you are a Pakistani, right? And you speak better than Europeans. And most Nepali people or educated people speak better English than Europeans. We all know that.
We all know that.
Right?
Yeah.
But even then, you need that benchmark.
Uh-huh.
Right? So that's how we get, discriminated. I didn't want to use the word. Right? It's a systemic discrimination. And that's how it is. And once if the situation is like that, you have to figure out the way to overcome it.
Yeah.
And that's what you are doing too.
Yes, that's one place where I got like rejected, and like I had decided, look, I need to do. The other places were like, if you the first thing, you cannot go and apply for government jobs. I was not interested in that, but like still, for some people it could be a like opportunity door for them. Second thing was like, whenever I applied for like a small personal loans or something like that in the banks, they used to call me back and saying, what is your education qualification? How are you earning this much in this age without any education qualification? I was like, every time I have to explain them, like saying, hey, these are the cases. Like even the banks don't they don't trust me. Even they have all my statements and all of my earnings and all of my spendings. That's another place that I got like stuck. Like this is very important here. And then I understood the fact that being in Nepal, you probably cannot have the same dream that a US citizen can have, or an Australian citizen can have, or like a UK citizen can have. They can be still a dropout and still have all of those opportunities, but in Nepal it's very difficult.
It's a compare. I'll give you an example with my own students. You know, I always tell them, just because you are in the same class, you are sitting on the same desk and same benches, and you are getting the same lecture, you are not the same.
Yeah.
You have a different background. The guy sitting next to you might be a billionaire. You don't know, right? Rupees billionaire, I mean, right? So. That guy might be very rich. Just because you are, on the same thing, you are eating the same lunch, you are doing the same assignments, you are not the same. This guy, the rich guy would have whole lot of opportunities, and that's the reality. I mean, you have to accept it.
Yeah.
He will or she will have a whole bunch of opportunities after they graduate, but you might not. So the only thing that will get you the opportunity is hard work and excelling your degree and proving that you are extraordinary. And this guy will not have to prove anything.
Mm-hmm.
He simply gets a degree and bam, he's like assistant manager, general manager. If he probably owns, his father probably owns a few companies, he suddenly become a general manager, and you'll start from clerk, and you'll be 80 years old before you get to his position.
Yeah.
So it's not the same, right? So this is, I'm comparing it in your situation and the international situation. I'm comparing with the local thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a difference.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that. Students, we all need to understand that. We are all different. And a person will have a whole bunch of different opportunities, and the next person will have zero. That's the reality.
Yeah. So, I think that's why people should not drop out. Every time I see someone posting on Facebook, like asking suggestion if they should drop out, like if you're dropping out from masters, it's okay, fine, not a big deal. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But bachelors, please do it. Like, because I have been, so many doors has closed for me just because I didn't have that, and so probably not going to suggest anyone to drop out.
There was an instance where it was a kind of big crowd, and even Anil Shah was there, and people from Daraz was there, and I was one of the speakers. There was a panel, and this lady, I don't know where, she was a top HR or something of a big company, let's not take the name. And she was saying that I don't care about the degrees, I only care about the skills and blah blah. So a degree doesn't matter to me, I will take anybody. And I asked her later, I did not want to embarrass her then. So later when the program was finished, and I said, so what kind of degree have you done? So she said, I have done masters, and 2 masters and 1 bachelor's. And you are telling these kids that you don't need a degree. You yourself have 2 degrees, master's level degree and bachelor's level. Without a degree, would you have been able to secure this position? She said no. So why are you doing that hypocrisy?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not possible. I mean, you have to be out of this world, extremely extraordinary, before you can do without a degree. And that also I doubt it.
But there is a certain shift that is happening right now in IT companies. Like, they don't look for degrees. Few companies, not all. You might get a fit. You might fit there or not. So the whole point is, don't take the risk. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, when I do the interview, I don't, as an employer myself with several different companies now, I don't focus on anybody's degree at all,
mm-hmm.
right? But then, when I shortlist, that is one of the factor, So if you might be a great person, with great potential, highly skilled and all that, but what if you don't get shortlisted?
Mm-hmm.
How would I know? I would kind of, throw your CV out before even considering it. Why? Because you don't have a degree. So you get eliminated in the first round. So you don't actually get to be in the competition. You are eliminated just beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might happen, and it does happen.
It does happen, like specifically when you're trying to not just like even if you got a job in the industry itself, like for example, someone dropped out, he or she was very extraordinarily talented, got into a company. If a company, let's say for example a company like us where they are outsourcing the resources to other countries, now ended up like pre-screening the person once again on what is their background. And now they will not just check their sometimes it has happened many times where they are still into their education qualifications, because we are now like outsourcing that particular resource to another country, and then like it could happen as well. Now what will you do at that point?
Yeah, I mean, as I told you before as well, they are checking your credibility.
Yeah, and there's a very big term like background screening that needs to happen,
and that's what I'm talking about, the credibility. I mean, and one of the biggest benchmark in a country like us is the education level, because there is nothing else. How would I, if, let's say I'm an international employer, right, and then you apply to my company, let's say, so how would I assess you? How would I, initially, I mean, later if I get to know you and all that, I find you having a great potential and you'll create value in my organization, all that. But initially, what is the benchmark? How do I shortlist you? If you do not have, if you only have done high school,
no.
How would I believe in a citizen of Nepal has only done high school, and I have an international company, and I want to appoint you as a senior manager?
Mm-hmm.
Think about the situation.
It could happen. It has happened. No. So, yeah. The whole point is don't take the risk.
Yeah.
Not worth it. So, anyways, thank you very much, Pramod sir, for like being in this podcast and talking about your experiences as well as what ideal student or a university or maybe even the industry should look after for a student and graduates. Like before ending this session, like do you want to like say something to our audience? It could be students, teachers, and not also them, but also parents and then maybe the industry.
Hey, well, I just want to summarize the whole discussion that I've done with Ravi, and starting with parents. Don't expect too much from your children, right? Just monitor them a little bit, and then try to find out the potential in them, and develop that potential using various education institutions, training institutions, employers like Ravi, and don't pressure them too much, because a pressured person won't be able to perform that well. And also in sending your children abroad, we all know the realities, and we are kind of blinded by the fact that everyone else has the children abroad, and don't feel belittled just because your neighbors have children and your son or daughter is in the house doing small job. At the end, these people who stay back will get the fantastic opportunities that are available in Nepal, because there is no competition in Nepal. It might take a little while. It might take 5 years, 10 years. The people who go abroad might start earning $20 an hour right away, and then start clicking pictures on the beach and all that. But the opportunity lies here. Obviously, if you want to send your children for experience, that's fine. But don't, if you're already a kind of middle class, then there's no point. I mean, your children will suffer eventually, even though they might enjoy for the next few years. So for students, again, do not compare yourself with your fellow students, because their backgrounds are different, right? As I said, they might have a lot of opportunities waiting for them, and you might not. So the only chance that, especially if you are from a little bit lower middle background, So your only chance is to study hard, beat all the competition within the institutions, and get a fantastic job. And also don't jump into entrepreneurship right away, because save your father's hard-earned money. I've seen a lot of them. So get few years of job experience, then get to know all the basics of entrepreneurship. Then you might want to start low. I mean, from a very small scale, and then you gradually scale up with the same money that you earn in the business, not from money from the outside. And for the education institutions, let's work together to produce as many graduates as possible, especially in the technology sector. And let's create an environment where these graduates would stay back. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Pramod sir, for your wonderful insights. Thank you very much for coming into this podcast.
Thank you, Ravi, for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. I hope the audience will learn a lot from that, especially students, about what they should do and what they should not do. So to the audience, thank you for watching till this end. I'm your host, Ravi Mandal, Director of Engineering and CISO at TechKraft. Thank you for all the love and support that you have given us. If you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And I'll see you with a new guest on next episode. Until then, have a great time. Bye-bye.